Good afternoon. I'm Patrick Keenan-Devlin, and I proudly serve as the Executive Director of the James B. Moran Center for Youth Advocacy, where I worked with Tom as a colleague and a friend for the past 15 years. On behalf of the Moran Center, and on behalf of Faye and the extraordinary Verdun family, thank you for being here. It means a great deal to gather in this place for this purpose. The Moran Center's Expungement and Sealing Help Desk did not start as a program. It started as a person. I first met Tom 15 years ago, right outside the clerk's office. He was setting up metal folding chairs under the staircase. Those chairs would soon be filled with people carrying the full weight of their pasts. Records that kept them from getting jobs, housing, stability, dignity. People who had done their time and then kept paying for it over and over again. Tom understood something essential, that criminal record relief is not paperwork. It is restoration. And this help desk became a place where that restoration could begin. Over the years, we've seen everything. Women who had survived trafficking came here, trying to expunge prostitution records that never should have followed them in the first place. Tom listened carefully. He honored their trauma, and he insisted that the law do the same. Professionals would come in with conditional job offers in hand, only to have them threatened by a decades-old case. Tom would work patiently with the clerk's office, untangle the record, find the missing piece, and a job that was slipping away would suddenly be secure. We saw people who were terrified to just even walk into this courthouse, finally sit down and exhale, because someone was willing to walk them through the process, patiently, respectfully, and without judgment. And we also saw joy. I can't tell you how many times I've been stopped in the community, at church, at Julasco. It even happened to me this weekend at my daughter's gymnastics competition, by someone who comes up to me and says, I have a job now. I went back to school. I got my professional license, all because of the Moran Center. And then there'd be a pause, and they'd add, because of Tom. That is the impact of this desk. That is Tom's impact. Tom built this help desk on a deep belief that people should not be defined by their worst mistake. He knew the law better than anybody. Judges said so, clerks said so, attorneys across the state said so. But what made Tom so special was how he used that knowledge. He didn't gatekeep. I had a boss once who said the worst offense in the law is being a hoarder of information. Tom did not hoard. He shared with volunteers like Anne and Donna and Francis and Georgine and Jan and Joanne and Wendy and, of course, Ina, who found her passion in this work thanks to Tom. With students like Adam, Elena, Andrew, Leah, and Patrick. With court staff like Bonnie and Yasmin. And especially with the people who walked in scared and walked out hopeful. Tom believed the law could be a tool for dignity. And here at this desk, he proved it. That's why naming this help desk after him feels so right. Because this is where Tom showed us who he was. Not in speeches. Tom would have hated every second of this. And certainly not in awards, but in folding chairs. folding chairs, patient explanations, and quiet victories that changed over 10,000 lives. And it feels especially fitting that we do this today with our presiding judge, Shelley Sutker-Dermer, who partnered with Tom from the very, very beginning, and whose leadership helped make this desk possible. Tom didn't just work in this courthouse, he made it more humane. This desk will continue, this work will continue because of Andy and Ann and Ebony and Tina and our extraordinary volunteers. People will keep walking through these doors looking for a second chance. And now every time they do, they're going to see Tom's name. Tom's name will be there, not as a memorial, but as a promise. A promise that dignity matters, that people matter, and that justice, when done right, restores. So I want to thank you again for being here to mark this moment. And thank you, Tom, for showing us that dignity belongs at the center of justice, that restoration is possible, and that when the law is practiced with care, it can truly change lives. This desk now carries your name, Tom, and your values always. Now I have the distinct honor, and I already mentioned her in my remarks, but Presiding Judge Shelley Sutker-Dermer, who again partnered with Tom to make this desk.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge.
You now know that my name is Shelley Sutker-Dermer, and I am the presiding judge of the 2nd District. But it's really appropriate, very appropriate, that the last act I do as presiding judge is to dedicate the expungement and sealing help desk to my friend and colleague, Tom Verdun. I met Tom when he was a public defender. He stood out in that arena. He was always prepared, hardworking, gave unparalleled representation to his clients. Over the course of our careers, our paths kept crisscrossing. I kept track of him, appreciating his successes, and he continued to fulfill critical goals within the public sector. When we met, I was a prosecutor and always admired his professionalism and work ethic. I later worked as a judge here in Skokie, and I can assure you that at that time, and this is 1996, the judges had an unbelievable respect for Tom and were happy when he walked through the door. And we talk about those things, judges, when someone comes through the door that you really like to see and that you're prepared and he's prepared. It's important. He later began his work as a senior staff attorney at the Moran Center in 2003. That is the year I became presiding judge. The district that I'm talking about includes Evanston, this district. It has 16 suburbs, but Evanston is one of them. Our paths crossed again. His reputation continued with a new set of judges here in the 2nd District while he handled cases here for the Moran Center and in the courthouse for the citizens of Evanston. As presiding judge, I am solely responsible for the granting and denying of petitions for expungements and sealings. The number of cases had grown exponentially from when I started as presiding judge and when he started in the Moran Center. As this was happening in the Evanston community, Tom said, "Can we meet?" And I said, "Of course." And he asked to discuss this situation. He saw a need, and we saw that we needed to talk about it and figure something out. He wanted to create this help desk, the expungement and sealing help desk in the Skokie Courthouse, to help Evanston, to help the people that go to the Moran Center. And I said, "Great idea. I really like it, but I can't do it if it's only going to be for Evanston. This is a district. There's 15 other suburbs." And he said, "No problem. And I want you to know that's very unusual. I'll do them all. We'll do anybody that comes in the door." And he did. And for those of you who really don't understand that, very few people volunteered to do extra work. And he did. He staffed that desk with all the others that were mentioned from the Moran Center, and he volunteered for years. He helped thousands of petitioners through the years work their way through this legal system from application to completion. His patience, his kindness, his professionalism, along with his remarkable, extensive knowledge of the law regarding expungements and sealings, enabled the people of this community, of this district, to obtain the necessary legal remedies they need to attain employment and move on with their lives. I sincerely doubt that there is any detail of the multitude of laws regarding expungement, sealing, certificates of innocence, identity theft, and relief from disabilities that Tom Verdun did not know. He was our resident expert and was frequently called upon not only by me, but the clerk, the state's attorneys, the public defenders, and other staff located here, and people, by the way, from across the country, because just because they got an offense in Skokie, Evanston, or this district, they did move out of this state, and then they don't know who to call or what to do. And guess what? We gave them Tom's phone number. And literally, he was on speed dial. If you ask the clerk's office, I'll go, oh, what's his number? She'll announce it to the courtroom for you. Yasmin absolutely knows where he is at all times. And or knew where he was at all times. And we would call him. The help desk remained open until COVID. We closed down, however, as you know, the courthouse was on low staff during COVID. And so what we did is gave out the number, Tom's number, to anyone and everyone who asked what they can do. We continued expungements. We turned the in-court, in-person expungement court call to a Zoom court call. And he handled them, along with his colleagues, all through COVID. We still allow Zoom in that courtroom. And several months ago, he came back to me and he said, it's time to get back in person. I want to resume the desk in person. Is that okay? I said, it's great. He suggested, and I think when he started off, he was under the staircase across from the clerk's office. He suggested a different location, which I agreed with. And he opened the desk, and every Tuesday from 10 to 12, you will find a desk manned by the Moran Center now. And I can assure you that that's just the beginning of the things that Tom Verdun did. As I sit here now, I'm going to take a little break in what I'm saying because I want to tell you Tom saw a need later again, and my other colleagues are going to talk about how he helped in the expungement and sealing in their courtrooms. So I believe, following me, if it's okay,
please, Joe.
I'm going to introduce Judge Michael Hood, who presides over Veterans Court.
Sorry to see everybody like this. I think a lot of the family, I see a lot of the family who I got to meet at the wake. The greatest compliment I could give to somebody is he's a good man. And I don't throw that out lightly, but Tom Verdun was a good man. I used to always think that Tom was always on time in my room. And I love that. And I know. I didn't know this until today. I said to Patrick, and I'm like, he was always on time. And Patrick laughed because apparently there's something called Tommy time that I was never aware of because he was always in my room on time. And we'd laugh about it. Like, I'm right here on time. I did not know that he was late for every other appointment that day. But I came to know, I've known Tom for years, and I won't say how long, but he would hate this, by the way.
Yes.
It's standing room only, and he would hate it. I knew him forever, and then when I had the Veterans Court, the Veterans Treatment Court, which is a specialty court, and I was talking to him about expungements and how we could do them faster and, you know, help these veterans out, and he's like, I'm on it. And I go, well, what do you mean on it? Because we're not on anything without that one in the middle being on it. And he's like, I'll take care of that. Sorry. He goes, I'll take care of that. And from then on, we would get the veterans who were graduating from this 2-year process, the paperwork to Tom months ahead of time. He would be on it, and when they graduated, they would have their cases expunged, which is unheard of, and that's because of Tom. I'll say one more thing before I go. We, in the Veterans Court, we had a woman who was a civilian who just gave her all to the Veterans Treatment Court. And just out of the goodness of her heart. And she passed away, and we came up with an award called the Alma Roque Civilian Service Award. And her sister got the first one. And I know that there's a couple people in this room who will know this story. For the one we were giving to the first person we were going to give this award to, we said, well, who should we give it to? Now, this is the room full of the Veterans Court treatment staff. Christine's here, Steve's here, and there was no other name. Now, lots of people help our court, but everybody was like, well, Tom. Not as a, what about Tom? It was Tom, just like that. And then we gave him the award, and he sat right where he was.
Yeah, that's right.
And we did not tell him, right, Patrick? You did not tell him.
No.
And I knew things were going to drive him crazy. And so I went through and I gave the award, and I said, and this year's award winner is Tom Verdun, and he tried to climb under that seat. But he got up and he took that award that he so richly deserved. He's a good friend. I know we'll miss him all. And everybody, thanks for being here. He would love staying remotely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Judge Sharon Arnold Kanter, and I am the judge that presides over the mental health treatment court here in the Skokie Courthouse. And following what Judge Hood said, we have an award as well at mental health treatment court. And Tom was obviously at the top of our list. And we were going to give him the award on December 4th. And we had worked with Kristen, actually talked to her on a Saturday, and she called him on a Saturday to make sure he would be available on December 4th. And sadly, we were unable to do that. But I would like his family to know that on May 7th, when we anticipate mental health treatment court graduation in May for Mental Health Awareness Month, that we would like to give him the award on that day. We would not do it on the 4th, as the 4th was the day that our the family chose to remember him, and we remembered him here. And I can also say that I had 3 graduates, and all of them were devastated as to what happened. When I think of Tom, I think mostly, and I knew Tom starting, I think, in 2001, right after September 11th. I think mostly about his voice. Tom didn't speak in a whisper, but he spoke quietly, calmly, deliberately, and respectfully, even if we didn't agree. And there's plenty of times that we didn't agree, at least in my former job. Although he spoke quietly in volume, and I always remember that, and I hear his voice in my head, and I'm hearing it right now, saying, stop. It was the manner in which he spoke, it was the words he chose, and it was the content of his conversations. It was his voice in all facets that mattered. He was a voice for those who thought they had no champion, and he became their champion. He was a voice for those whose choices and perhaps circumstances brought them into contact with the criminal justice system, and he was theirs. And in particular for our mental health treatment court participants, he was a voice for those who work so hard. And as just like Judge Hood, our court call is a 2-year probation. It is extraordinarily difficult. It is extraordinarily rigorous. There's a lot. We'll just leave it at that. And for those people who work so hard and a chance to continue to do so, Tom was their voice and their ability to not only continue the path that they chose, but as well as continue their new start. I just want to say something to add to what I thought of as Judge Hood was speaking. When Tom did expungements for our mental health treatment court participants, they are lovely people. They suffer a great deal. They work through so much. So we're talking about a group of individuals who need a lot of hand-holding and support and encouragement. And there couldn't be a better person to help them through this path but Tom, and to make things understandable. But what's super important, and I know for Judge Hood's participants and Judge Gemsky's participants in drug treatment court, is that Tom didn't just do the expungement of the case that was in court for graduation, and his colleagues, so thank you. Tom did every case he could find in their background to expunge or seal. So talk about going above and beyond. Every case that fit the statute, and he's the only one who really understands the full extent of it, made those be part of their expungement and sealing process. It is a tremendous endeavor, and he did it with absolutely, I hope we gave him as much thanks as he deserved. I doubt we did. But he did it with no fanfare, and as the best lawyers among us, just did his job. He went above and beyond. I can't believe I'm talking in the past tense, I really can't. He is a voice of kindness, dedication, commitment to community, and a beacon of hope for humanity. We will miss him immensely, immensely. But what brings us somewhat comfort is that we will have a desk in our building dedicated to him and all the work he's done up to this point, and all the work that we are going to do going forward in his name, to clear a path for all of those who so definitely deserve one. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Your Honors, so much for speaking. I'd now like to call up one of my friends, Nathan Norman, who is Senior Director of Development at Oakton College. Nathan was a close partner of Tom's in doing this work. And I think it's important that we bring Nathan into this conversation, into this ceremony, because Nathan is a workforce development expert in the state of Illinois. And Tom was not a workforce development expert, but he cared so deeply about people being able to achieve their dreams. And he hated when barriers like criminal records prevented them from achieving those dreams. So I think it's really important to, again, bring Nathan into this conversation to ground the why. Why did Tom do this work? Because he believed in people and people's attainment of their dreams. And just to, if I have any math geeks in the audience, just to translate that into numbers. I know I already gave you the big number of 10,000 plus people served by Tom at the help desk. But we calculate that on average, every person that Tom has helped has seen an increase in their average salary, approximately about $6,000 per year. That's significant. That's significant. And so that's why this work was so important to Tom. That was his why, that people be able to attain their dreams. And so I'm really honored that Nathan could come and share some words with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. It's hard to really follow that. But I would say that, and I'll prepare some remarks, but I first just like to state that my association with Tom is slightly different. It's both personal and professional. As Patrick indicated, I am the Senior Director of Workforce Development at Oakton College. However, prior to this role, I served as the inaugural Director of Reentry for the state of Illinois, where I worked tirelessly to stand up policy to help individuals who are returning back to our community from incarceration. A lot of that time was spent in those carceral settings and so on and so forth. When I first assumed the role, one of the people that I contacted first was Patrick. Next to Patrick, it was Tom. And reason being is because he is an expert, as we all know, in helping folks who want to reach their full potential, particularly those who return to our communities from incarceration. Tom was not only an advocate for youth and young adults and helping them make that transition, but he was also an advocate for myself, because prior to taking those roles and being in the position I am today, thanks to a second opportunity, I am a system impacted individual. And it was individuals like Tom that stood in the gaps for individuals like me to be able to be in positions like I am today. And so for that, I'm extremely appreciative of Mr. Robert Roy and so on and so forth. I came in contact with the Moran Center far before it was named so. Again, I'm so appreciative of those individuals who are in the trenches, as we call it, and stand in the gaps for individuals like myself who sometimes don't need just a second chance, we need another chance, right? And so I'm extremely appreciative of that. When I was asked to come and have a few words today in remembrance of Tom, I was humbled. So much so that I really took some time and crafted these words. I really like to just speak off the dome, as my wife calls it. But this to me was something that was a little more formal, because Tom had meant so much to me, my family, and countless individuals, and throughout the community who he has given his cell number to call so that he could explicitly help. Nevertheless, Tom is a dedicated colleague and a true collaborator. He made our work and our community better simply by being a part of it. He was a true practitioner and a lifelong youth and young adult advocate who showed up every day with purpose and humility. He believed deeply in the potential of young people and led not just with words, but through his consistent action. He understood that this work was about relationships, trust, and showing up again and again. He impacted lives, he touched so many people in our community, and helped their paths be more successful. And it is my hope that we can continue to stand in those gaps, that we can continue to be advocates for youth, young adults, and other individuals in our community who need another chance. Tom was special, and that calmness that he had about him that so many of you all have spoke about was something that really gave confidence and reassured so many of us who had came in contact with the criminal legal system. Last but certainly not least, I'm so excited that this help desk is named after Tom, and this will continue to contribute to his legacy of helping others and putting other people ahead of ourselves. Thank you.
Next, I'm going to bring up Jared Davis, who has a day job, but in my life, his most important role is Jared Davis is the vice chair of the board of directors at the James B. Moran Center for Youth Advocacy. Jared.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank all of you for being here. I didn't realize I was going to be the last one to speak.
Judge is going to be the last.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, it's just not that good. No. I too, like Nathan, like to kind of just go off the top of my head. But you can't do that when you're talking about somebody like Tom. I wanted to be sure that I hit a couple of points. When I was asked to consider the role on the board of directors at the James B. Moran Center for Youth Advocacy, I first needed to do some research on the organization. One of the first things that I learned of was the expungement table, which is now known as the Tom Verdun Expungement and Sealing Help Desk that the Moran Center opened at the Skokie Courthouse. This was a deeply personal discovery to me, as I am well aware and close to the challenges that having a record present for people. Learning that the Moran Center was already performing this amazingly appropriate and logical next step in repairing the harm done to a person who has a record, it significantly influenced my decision to join the board. Then I met Tom. And I hope you all don't mind me using the present tense, because Tom's legacy lives and is present. Tom is what a lot of Black people who are in the fight would call an accomplice. By legal definition, I know a lot of you already know that, but some that don't. An accomplice is a person who knowingly, voluntarily, or intentionally gives assistance to another in the commission of a crime. That person is also criminally liable to the same extent as the person who committed the crime and is typically present when the crime is committed. I liken Tom to an accomplice because for a lot of Tom's clients, one of the biggest crimes that they committed was being poor, or being Black, or being unable to advocate for themselves, or having anyone else to be able to advocate for them when entering the American justice system. Tom used his knowledge and experience to stand by those clients who were just being poor, or just being black, or alone, or all of those together. That included being a crime. Using Patrick's words because they are often so appropriate. At this help desk, Tom helped to restore dignity and humanity when your humanity has been stripped by the system. He opened doors for people that otherwise would not have been opened, and he empowered the clients that he served. So as I close, and as a Moran Center board member, I'd like to thank the Circuit Court of Cook County, Judge Sutker-Dermer for her leadership and appropriately renaming this the Tom Verdun Expungement and Sealing Help Desk. And I'd like to thank all of the partners that have worked on this through the years with Tom and the Moran Center for this very appropriate gathering and recognition of a person who should always be remembered. Thank all of you for being here. I also took it upon myself to have a resolution, a proclamation done in Tom's honor by the entire board of Cook County. My boss is a Cook County Commissioner for the 13th District, which includes 7th and Skokie. And this proclamation, I am so sorry to the family that I did not get there in time to the wake to present this to you. It has Sharon Mitchell's signature on it, as well as my boss, because Sharon is the public defender for Cook County. And he wanted very badly to sign this document. I am not giving it to you right now because I also have in the works an actual resolution that will have Tony Preckwinkle's signature on it as well. That will be passed this Thursday. And once I get that in my hands, I will present as many copies as you all would like of that resolution. But I wanted to be sure that you knew that this was going to happen. This did happen, and the resolution will happen on Thursday. So again, thank you all very much for being here.
So I know everybody has a 1:30 court call. We are mindful of the time. But I thought it'd be really appropriate, go with me here for a second. If you are from Westside Justice Center, you could stand up. If you are from IEJF, you could stand up. If you are from the clerk's office and worked with Tom in criminal record remediation, if you were a volunteer at the Expungement and Sealing Help Desk, if you could stand up. If you were a law clerk of Tom's and learned about expungement and sealing, if you were assisted by Tom at the Expungement and Sealing Help Desk, if you could stand, we have clerks. These are the people that Tom would want to honor today. Okay? Because Tom hated being the center of attention. So we could also just take a moment to celebrate these people, because without them, we would not have it.
Circling back, I want to mention something that my colleagues don't know necessarily. When the law changed with regard to problem-solving courts, and they enabled us to be able to file 60 days before, the first person before he went to them, that he went to, Tom came to me and said, you know, the law changed. And by the way, he always told me when the law changed. Or not. He would tell me, you know, and he'd come with the new amended law or proposed law and bring it to my office. You know, I'm going to do this, and if I finish it 60 days before, then on the date of graduation, you can sign it. Will you do that? Of course, Tom, no problem. So, on a personal note, I have to just say this because I'm compelled to do so. On the Friday before Tom passed away, he, in his last court call, as a practicing lawyer before he passed away, was in the expungement and sealing call. And Karen and my staff, we can all talk about the fact that we finished the court call at 3:30, and he came up to me and he started talking about a little problem we were having with how we were doing it. It could improve. He could improve the system for the problem-solving courts because there was a little snafu between the clerk's office and my office. Can I meet him next week? We'll work it out. He'll explain it to me. Well, I figured it out, and I'll take care of it. But it was pointed out to me and so incredibly appropriate because that was Tom. He was always looking and always thinking of ways to improve. I wanted to make sure, Faye, that you and his family knew how important he was to me, to this district, to this community, and how much he will be missed. I can't think of a more fitting recognition than the dedication of his lifetime service to the public than to dedicate the help desk for expungement and sealing and rename it the Tom Verdun Memorial Expungement and Sealing Help Desk. And because Patrick is a little dramatic, he made me promise to bring my gavel. And since I brought my gavel, and I don't think I've ever used it, to adjourn this and dedicate the help desk.